Hello everyone, my name is Brin and welcome back to my channel. Here on Brin Darcy we discuss life and study at the ANU, the Australian National University here in Canberra, obviously in Australia, and what your life could be like if you studied here as well. So in today's video I will be doing something that I suppose is a little bit uncomfortable. I will be answering honest questions that people ask about the ANU. So I suppose this is a bit of a mix of like assumptions video and questions that I haven't answered video. That's not what they call, but you know what I mean. Anyway, I will be answering some saucy questions about the ANU and my time studying here. But before I get into that, I'll just quickly tell you that I have been away for a little bit because I've been pretty busy with some things that are going on in my life. But I'm currently editing another A New Perspective International Edition podcast with the lovely Gaia, where we discuss her time here as a student from Italy. That will be going up very shortly. As soon as I finish editing it, we had a very long conversation. So yeah. Apart from that, I have some new things in the works that I will keep you updated on as and when they are more set. But yeah, until then, that's all I've got to tell you. And I suppose onto the video. So today I have 11 questions to answer that are a little bit uncomfortable, I suppose, to talk about and that I might not have talked about before. Let me start with the first one, which is, do you feel pressure studying at ANU? I think that this is something that is quite common with, I suppose, academic universities. The ANU is the highest ranked university in Australia currently, and I think it's sitting around 30th in the world. But it's obviously a very good uni, it's obviously a very academic uni. I'm not going to turn around and say otherwise, and I do feel like to an extent there is pressure that comes with that, because obviously you're in an environment where you're now not, one of the smarter kids at your small school. You're just another person who is equally as intelligent as you in this larger university. And yeah, with that comes a lot of pressure that you put on yourself, that you feel like is being put on you by the institution and other people's expectations, at least for me. But yeah, I think that that's something that students struggle with often, because a lot of students, especially students from like rural and regional areas, are coming in as being, the top of their class, or the top of their school. And then when you're put in an environment where you're not that anymore, they can be really challenging to come to terms with, personally and academically and professionally. I think for me, I often associated my intelligence with my self-worth. So coming into an environment where, I still do well, but I'm not one of the smarter people there is challenging. I suppose that there is always a feeling of pressure to an extent. Like you feel like you have to do quite well in order to succeed. I don't know, it's something that's very difficult to describe, but I think that yes, there is a certain degree of pressure, and I think that students should be aware coming into it that exists, but that is like, it's a social creation more than it is an actual reality. I don't think in reality there is the pressure that students feel that there is. I don't think the ANU particularly cares how you do, to be honest, as an individual, as part of a much greater whole. But yeah, I think that it exists to an extent. Okay, the next question is the ANU difficult? Are the courses difficult? Is class difficult? Are the essays and I suppose the assignments difficult? For me, not particularly. I don't find them that challenging. I suffer with a serious case of procrastination all the time, so I really struggle to complete things until the day that they're due, but I don't find that the work is particularly challenging. I just think that sometimes some of the tasks are more geared towards summary and repetition of ideas rather than thinking, creating your own ideas. The next question, which people ask me, and I've never talked about before, is what is your GPA? So currently, my GPA is 6.615, if we're being particularly specific. That is an okay GPA. It's not great, but I also have worked while studying, and I'm studying an accelerated degree. So I'm pretty happy with that result. The lowest mark that I've got so far is a 73, and that was in a course that I really hated. So I was actually quite pleased with getting a 73. But yeah, I suppose that going back to the first question, is there pressure? I think that I put a lot of pressure on myself to do that well. So the next question is a really interesting one, and that is the ANU elitist? I think that this is a perception that people have, especially people who've lived in Canberra their whole lives, is they feel like the ANU is a bit elitist. I don't think we're elitist, personally. I think that there are wankers everywhere. So I don't think that going to the ANU is going to mean that you find more of them there. I think that going to a well-known university or possibly a well-respected university means that you're going to find people who are very egotistical. I don't think that makes the whole university elitist, though. I think that there are definitely people there who are, but I don't think that I'm elitist, and I don't think that the people I know from the ANU are elitist. But yeah, there are definitely some people who are always going to be bad people. So the next question is, do you have to be rich to go to ANU? This one is an interesting one. I think that, cost of education is something that is a big topic all over the world. I think that for an international student coming to ANU, from most countries in the world, yes, you have to be very well off. You have to be in the top, 5% of your country to come here, because you have to pay your full fees. I think as a domestic student, no, you don't have to be rich. First of all, we have HECS, then also you can get scholarships. So yeah, no, I don't think you have to be rich as a domestic student. Yes, I do think you have to be pretty well off as an international student, or you have to get a scholarship. Yeah. Question is Canberra expensive? The answer to that is yes, Canberra is expensive. It's comparable in price in terms of cost of living, to when I lived in London. Canberra is very difficult to find somewhere to rent. Rent prices are increasing, there's less housing, it's very competitive. When I first rented somewhere in Canberra, my parents came and looked for me because I was still living overseas at the time, and they would go to open houses where there was over 150 people looking to rent the same house. And I'm just lucky that now now I live in my parents' flat here in Canberra, which I'm very grateful for. I'm very lucky. Okay, the next question is the ANU posh? I think that it is somewhat posh, but I don't think that it's very posh. I guess it depends how you're quantifying posh, but I think that it's less posh than, say, Cambridge or Oxford for obvious reasons. I think it's also less posh than the University of Sydney, because I think that certain part of something being posh is it being old, but maybe that's just a personal thing. But no, I don't find the ANU hugely posh. I think that it is a little bit posh. Like I said before, some people there are particularly elitist. And I think that there is a certain amount of prestige that comes with the ANU, and I think that contributes to poshness rather than elitism. But yeah, I don't think it's hugely posh overall. I think it is a little bit though. Next question is it easy to make friends? And this question, honestly, I'm probably not the best person to answer it. I haven't particularly gone out and made friends at the ANU. I haven't sought out friendships though, so that's more on me than anyone else. I think that if you go to events and you put yourself out there and you go to clubs and stuff, I think that it's pretty easy to make friends then, and like everyone's really friendly. It's not that I couldn't have made friends, it's that I choose not to, because I can find friendships overwhelming. But I think that, yeah, it is pretty easy to make friends. Like Canberra's it's a university town. It's full of public servants and university students. So I think that, yeah, it's a pretty easy place to make friends as a university student. I think that it's a good place to do it. So the next question is, what has coronavirus been like in Australia? And I think that this is a very pertinent question to now. I've had this question a few times in a few different forms, asking about vaccination or international travel, or whether international students will be able to come back. And I think that overall my response to it is that we've been incredibly lucky in the way that, in terms of a lot of things, but especially how, I'm not going to say we managed to contain the spread, because I don't think it was an active effort. I just think that it was sheer luck more than anything. And the fact that we have a culture that that's more Anglo than European, in terms of how we interact with people, and the fact that we aren't going out and doing things like what happened in Spain and Italy at the start of the pandemic. But yeah, it's not really, like, I have no expertise on this, so I can't really talk about this in an expert way. But I think that the pandemic, we've been lucky that it hasn't hit particularly badly till now. It's incredibly unfortunate that only a certain percentage of people are able to get vaccinated, because we don't have enough vaccinations, because we don't have enough vaccines. It's very difficult to live as a person who wants to get vaccinated and can't, because they're not eligible, and to hear rhetoric that's blaming you for, or blaming young people and the actions of young people for the new outbreak, especially as someone who has self-isolated since the beginning of the pandemic. Yeah, that kind of language, I suppose, and that kind of rhetoric is very damaging, it's very upsetting, and it's very difficult to live with not being able to access the thing that you want to access to be able to be safer. I think that COVID hasn't particularly impacted our lives here to the extent that it's impacted the lives of my friends overseas. And I think that we've been lucky in that aspect. In terms of when international students are coming back and when international travel will resume, I'm not particularly sure. I hope by next year, because next year my partner and I want to move back to Spain. So I hope that we're able to at least get out. We don't want to get back in, we just want to get out. But yeah, I think that it's a challenging situation and a frustrating one. And that is all I will say about COVID. I suppose that leads on a little bit into the next question. I should just say, I slid dramatically since starting this video. I think I started with my head up here and I'm just sliding right down. I've just got more and more comfortable as time's gone on. Maybe I should tilt you a little bit this way. There we go. Yeah, I've just got increasingly comfortable. No, so what I do have to say is, the next question is, what is your after uni plans? And that is another interesting question. My plans for after university have changed as, my interests have changed, and as the pandemic's changed, and as everything's changed. that's just life though, isn't it? But I think that as of this moment, I would ideally like to go back to Spain in probably August next year, and I would like to have a job with an Australian company, as well as possibly starting my own business in Spain. But yeah, I'd really like to maintain ties with Australia, and yeah, that's currently our plan, to go back and live near my partner's parents, because obviously he hasn't got to see them for more than a year now. So yeah, that will be the ideal situation if we're able to do that. Obviously fully vaccinated and fully tested and everything if we did get to travel. But yeah, that would be my ideal plan. And that brings us to the end of today's questions. So these are just the questions that I'm asked most frequently, compiled into like this sort of question list thing. So yeah, I hope that you enjoyed listening to me talk about some of those things. I'm not sure how coherent it was. I am exhausted, as you can tell from my massive bags. So yeah, if it didn't make any sense, sorry. I've just spent half an hour talking for nothing. But if it did make sense, I'm glad that it does, and I hope that you enjoyed it, and I hope that you found out something about the ANU at least. Yeah, I guess that's all for today, and I will see you in my next video. Bye!